I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I didn't even ask for an explanation. I watched him lie for years, and I stayed silent on purpose because I knew what's that day, the truth wouldn't just expose him. It would destroy everything he built. And when that moment came, I sent my husband to prison without saying a single word. My hand reached for the doorknob when the light from my phone illuminated my face. A message from Marcus. Stuck in a meeting. I'll be late. I read the text, but didn't put it back. I let the notification stay on the screen because part of him was expecting it anyway. The moments when even the expectation becomes apparent. As I stepped through the door, the cool air of the restaurant hit my face. Gray marble floors, soft yellow lights, folded pink napkins on the tables. A mid-range but thoughtfully designed place. Exactly the kind Marcus would like. The waiter approached me. He was middle-aged, wearing glasses, and had the patient look of someone who asked the same question every day. I'm waiting for my husband, I said. I showed him my phone. He said he was stuck at work. The waiter nodded slightly. We'll call you later, he said. Would you like to choose a seat or sit at a table? There was no artificiality, no problem, just a typical restaurant routine. No, I'll just wander around a bit, I said. I want to observe the tables. If I had been a passive person towards Marcus, then this evening would have been very different. But because I'm someone who controls myself, even a designer, I found things I saw everywhere in the house, the detail, the flower arrangements, the angle of the light, the position of the tables. Everything carries a message. Everything tells a story. I felt like a little environmental consultant walking through my own life in this restaurant. 2 weeks ago, Marcus's behavior changed. I don't even know how to explain it because it wasn't big changes. It was small things. The way he checked his cheek in the mirror in the morning. He never used to do that. Or his habit of turning off his phone. He always kept it on, always answered any call immediately. Now, at dinner, he looked completely drained. I even heard him on the balcony one night as I was coming out of the bathroom. He was using his voice, but what he was saying was completely different. Yes, I understand. His posture changed. His tone changed. I asked him who he was talking to. A colleague, he said very quickly, about the project. But his tone wasn't for a colleague. Tone of voice is what you use when you want to impress someone. At first, I ignored it. A lot of women do that because seeing it hurts so much. Ignoring it is easier. Pushing back hair, looking out the window, not asking the same question all the time. I felt like I was being pulled by a thin thread. But now, if I get a message from Marcus's supposedly stuck workplace, even I might notice a change. I walked slowly around the restaurant. People were talking. Most seemed like couples, hands close together on the table, eyes locked. But some tables had a different energy. Even though they were sitting at the same table, there were signs of loneliness on their faces. I wondered if I had a face like that too. Then I saw him. Marcus wasn't among the tables. He was sitting in the back corner in a less visible spot. There was a girl with him, a girl with blonde hair in a tight dress, sitting with her arm lightly touching. Marcus's Valerie. I recognized her immediately because Marcus had mentioned her to him at home. A new colleague at the grocery store. Actually, not from the company. She'd come as a consultant. Did you know that? That's what he'd said. Marcus's face was different. He was smiling a genuine smile. But when he smiled at me for perhaps 2 weeks, his eyes would stay closed as if there was some kind of explanation. When I asked him about work, he would ask, "What work are you talking about? Are you questioning someone?" But with Valerie, he was telling a story. His hands would go up, his head would move. In a shared joke, they both looked at each other and laughed. I'm not moving. My eyes are locked on them. My designer eyes are analyzing the structure, the light, the positions. Marcus's way of sitting is different from when I've sat with him before. He's more relaxed. He has more control. Valerie's the way she looked at Marcus, I saw it. It was a "I have you now" look. My hand froze in my pocket. I had my phone. I could text Marcus. But what would I say? "I saw you. Are you lying?" No, I wouldn't do something so silly. Besides, it was already too late for him to notice me. I stood between the tables, pretending no one was looking at me. I acted like a girl checking her phone. The waiter approached our table, mine, Marcus's, and Valerie's. He filled the glasses with water. "How am I?" he asked. "Great," Valerie said. Marcus remained silent. The waiter shuffled away. Perhaps he had noticed. Waiters notice things. They notice everything. 2 minutes passed. Maybe 3. Then Marcus saw Valerie's bag. It was open. A very small box came out. a dark-colored box. Marcus's face trembled. He glanced around quickly, then checked his surroundings to see if anyone was watching. I was watching. Valerie opened the box. A ring that sparkled like a diamond. Marcus's face turned deathly pale, but it wasn't a paleness of joy, but a paleness that resembled fear. Valerie's face was brightening. Yes, she asked. It took Marcus 3 seconds to answer. Yes, he said, but his voice wasn't the voice of someone saying yes. It was the voice of someone trapped. Valerie put the ring on her finger. People at the surrounding tables turned their heads. It was like a celebration, someone's happiness unhindered, but Marcus's face remained fixed. He took Valerie's hand, but not in a gentle way, more like he was being supported. I felt no anger because I already knew it. The lines were small but clear. The tone of voice on the phone, the conversation on the balcony, the obsession with revamping his style, all of it adds up, completing the picture. But now, here, Marcus is seeing that he had made a promise to Valerie. It suddenly made sense. This wasn't just doubt. This was reality. I moved, slowly, controlled. The heels of my shoes traced a rhythm on the floor between the tables. Tick, tick, tick. Valerie was the first to notice Marcus. She turned her head. Her eyes were frightened, but her gaze immediately shifted to suspicion, as if she hadn't been expecting me, as if my arrival here had been very sudden. I stood beside the table. I looked at Valerie. "Are you celebrating?" I asked. My voice was soft, not cold, just curious. Valerie smiled. "Yes, I promised Marcus there will be a wedding," she said, so sincere, so happy. Real happiness at least as much as mine. I looked at Marcus. "I didn't know," I said. "That's all." Marcus stood up. "Vivien, what are you doing here?" He said, "Seriously? I came here for you, to wait for you." I replied, "According to the waiter, you're stuck at work." Valerie's face changed. A slight unease. Marcus spoke quickly. "Yes, but Valerie forced me to come up here. She wanted a surprise. She wanted to make a promise." At Valerie. "Didn't you know?" I asked. "That Marcus was married?" Valerie's eyes widened. "What?" she said. Marcus interrupted immediately. "We're in the process of getting a divorce. Our paperwork is almost complete. Just a couple of final details at the law firm." He turned to Valerie. "Your relationship started, but then I decided to make things official." I almost burst out laughing when I heard that, but my face didn't move at all. My eyes just drifted away from Marcus. I looked at Valerie, then at the ring on the table. "Didn't she mention the law firm at all?" I asked. "There are even entities in my name as the partner girl. Angelic entities united by marriage." Marcus's face hardened. He was looking at Valerie. Valerie was looking at Marcus. The third person at the table I felt like I was being seen by someone. But at the same time, I was being seen by everyone. A girl was looking at her phone. A young couple was in a state of confusion. "Which one would you like to know?" I asked. "The actual date of the divorce or the date you met Marcus?" Because they both coincide. Marcus said, "Vivien, we can talk about this later. But for now, let's look at Valerie's situation." A question mark appeared on Valerie's face. "Who are you?" she said. There was no defense in my body language. Just the truth. "I am Marcus's wife. Still am, right down to the unsigned paperwork." Valerie's ring gleams on her finger. Marcus's face was drenched in sweat. A couple sitting beside us were watching us. An interesting scene. A real scene. Confusing and ugly, but real. "It's a misunderstanding," Marcus said. He immediately turned to Valerie. He tried to explain something to her, but the words seemed to cut off. Valerie's face began to flush. Was it anger, shame, confusion? It wasn't clear. "You told me you were married," she said. Marcus said it absolutely for me, trying to deflect blame. But his words hung in the air. I finished my sentence. "You two have been together for about 4 months. Marcus and I have been married for 6 years. A law firm, prenuptial agreements, a house sold at auction. Lots of shit." I looked at Valerie. "You've only just begun to talk about it. After you make promises to Marcus, you'll really start to understand it." Marcus approached me. He held out his arm. "Vivien, please," he said. I recoiled. I said nothing. I just pointed to the ring on the table. "It's a beautiful ring," I said. "Do you want to know where he bought it?" Silence. "With the credit card he opened in my name." "Yes, in the middle of their divorce. He used his wife's credit card to buy another girl's engagement ring. Not just because of that. That ring is almost identical to the one he said he wanted to buy for me. Because Marcus isn't creative when it comes to design. time. He follows templates. Valerie's eyes gleamed, but the signs were mixed. Shock, shame, anger. Marcus tried to speak loudly. Vivien, this isn't the right place. Let's not do this, but I had already done it. The conversation was over. I just turned my head and walked away from the table. My steps are in the opposite direction to the rhythm I traced on the way here. Tick, tick, tick. At the same speed, but with the same determination. Marcus gets up behind me. Vivien, wait, he says. The voice is rising. Tables are being turned. The waiter stands there, bewildered. It's always interesting to watch a man lose control. Marcus takes a huge stride, running towards the courtyard gate. I walk. I don't speed up. I don't slow down, because I'm the one who should be there, not him. The air outside is cold and clean. It's not quite dark yet, but daylight is breaking. The color is reddish orange purple. A beautiful night, but I wouldn't have spent it with Marcus. Marcus walked out the door. His face was deathly pale. You ruined my life, he said. I turned around. No, I said, you trashed your life. I just opened the lid. I pulled my phone out of my pocket. I opened the law firm's directory. Demain, call me right away and I'm speeding up the divorce. There will be nothing left of staying married. Marcus's face fell. No words. Only the old fear of the past 9 months. 5 months, 1 month was visible on his face. Vivien, please, let's talk, he said. But I prepared to leave. I grabbed the car keys. I stood beside Marcus. I know where you are, who you're with. I don't care what Valerie thinks, but I'm leaving now, and there's no reason to bring you back. I started the car engine. Marcus tapped on the window. Vivien, Vivien. But the engine noise drowned out his voice. The last thing I wanted to see was Valerie in the restaurant light, still with the ring in her bag, her hands calling Marcus. Vivien with her head turned to the left, choosing not to look out the car window, only looking at the road light. When I started the car, I was neither angry nor sad. I had simply made a choice, and that choice had cleansed my soul, not its poets. As the truth gradually emerges, it becomes difficult to accept that what happened was not merely a misunderstanding. When one realizes how fragile the established order actually is, one's sense of security is shaken. Looking back, it becomes clearer how seemingly small details can lead to significant consequences. Each new piece of information is initially met with denial, followed by silent astonishment. This astonishment gradually gives way to deep questioning. One begins to consider not only what happened, but also why it went unnoticed. One oscillates between self-blame and self-understanding, because accepting that what one believes in one's heart contradicts reality is not easy. During this process, emotions are unclear. Everything is intertwined. Trust, anger, disappointment, and uncertainty are felt simultaneously. But this confusion is also the beginning of an awakening. Things are no longer accepted without question. Every step is taken with greater caution. This awareness makes one feel that what happened was not in vain. One realizes that a more solid perspective has been established in place of the shattered order. When I got home, I didn't turn on the lights. I preferred to sit in the dark. The apartment was silent. It was the first time I've felt such silence since driving here. I put my cell phone on the table. I turned it face down so I wouldn't see the notifications. I knew Marcus would call or text or both, but someone didn't want to talk to me, and I wanted to be the one who didn't want to talk. I went to the kitchen. I took a glass and filled it with water from the tap. Cold water. I poured it into my mouth and swallowed. It felt like an artificial movement, like an actor playing a role in my own life. An actor who found his wife in a restaurant. An actor who spoke without showing any genuine emotion. An actor who got into his car and drove away. But I wasn't an actor. This was real. To my bedroom. I looked out the window. The streetlights were coming on. The city was getting ready for nightlife. A few blocks away, people were going out to eat, to bars, living their lives. And here I was, in the darkness, in the silence. Married, still married, prenuptial agreements not signed, law office opening tomorrow, lawyer appointment Monday. I took off my shoes. I changed my clothes. I put on uncomfortable training pants and an old sweatshirt. The clothes had to be light. They shouldn't cling to my body. I sat down on the bedroom chair and started thinking about Marcus. But even thinking about him felt too heavy. I remember the first day we met at a design event. He was the marketing manager for a company. I was a freelance graphic designer. He was so confident in his speech. He told stories, crafted sentences as if everything was planned. I found that appealing. Ambition, Goal, maybe because I didn't think he was a student. I thought I wasn't either. 6 years. 6 years married. The wedding, buying a house. Minor disagreements. Minor reconciliations. Routines, habits, knowing each other so well that you understand each other just with a glance. Then one of them changes or hides something or both. My cell phone vibrated. A notification from Marcus, please answer the phone. I didn't. 5 minutes later, another message. I know you understand what this is about, but please listen before it starts. I didn't answer that one either. It wasn't an angry message. Instead, it was a heavy one. Seeing Valerie wasn't everything. My problems with you started much longer ago. I tossed the phone onto the table. Yes, much longer. But to be able to say longer, it had to start like this. It was a slow erosion between Marcus and me, like water seeping under a concrete street. Slow enough to go unnoticed, yet damaging the structure as suddenly as collapsing in the square. I wanted to sleep, but I couldn't. At a M, I could still see in my eyes. I turned on my phone. I'd missed 6 calls, 9 messages, all from Marcus. The last message, we need to talk tomorrow. We can't stay silent about this. I didn't reply. You could have stayed silent. I told myself, if you had stayed silent, this wouldn't have happened tonight. I woke up at a M. I made coffee. I sat by the window and drank my coffee. My brain felt numb. A defense mechanism, perhaps. Or just tiredness. I didn't look at my cell phone. I knew how long the messages were. I was writing them to myself. Please, and Valerie, it's not important. At a M, I received a message from my lawyer, law firm. Madam, your clients are requesting a meeting tomorrow at PM. Marcus was calling me through the lawyer. He had set a limit, lawyer channel, but this was a call for discussion. I replied to the message, yes. PM, simple, short. Then I finished my coffee. In the afternoon, they called from the company, Human Resources. Hi, Vivien. I just wanted to check if we made a notification regarding your care. Is Marcus still your emergency contact information in your personnel file? Attention. For a moment, I began to understand what I had noticed. No, I said, update my file. Add my mother for emergency contact. They offered their condolences. As I hung up, I realized they had noticed me. Or maybe Marcus had noticed and spoken to her there. Whatever the case, the result is the same. The news spreads. The truth spreads. At 1:45 p.m. the next day, concrete, glass, 8 floors, modern, lifeless, a place where lives are built or destroyed. I got into the elevator. Marcus was in the waiting room. His face looked more drawn than it had last night. He hadn't straightened his hair. His shirt was wrinkled. He looked like he dressed in a hurry. He stood up when he saw me. He made a move to hug me, but didn't stop. He chose to keep his distance. What happened to you? He said, what do you mean? I asked, your face, your voice, something that isn't here, something that happened last night. I understood. But what did we talk about? I asked. It wasn't about time. The lawyer came out. A gray suit, a stern face, the mood of company files. The lawyer invited us into the room. 2 armchairs, a painting. I had a table between them. Marcus sat on my side. I moved away from his side. The lawyer said the divorce papers were almost finished. We need to sell the house and divide the income. Retirement accounts, joint debts. It's all official. All numbers, all logic. Marcus spoke. Financially, because I earn more, the lawyer interrupted him. In these cases, spouses share equally. And then Marcus's voice dropped. But I want to tell Vivien something. The lawyer suggested silence. The clock is ticking, he said. But Marcus didn't care. He glanced at her. Valerie was nothing, he said. Your problems were much deeper. Maybe you saw it too. My eyes remained fixed when he said that. Yes, I said, I saw it. 4 months ago, his face changed. What? He said. The sound of the phone, the waiter answering, the ring box, all the scenes. I interrupted Marcus. But until Valerie, I was just a suspect. For the first time, it was confirmation. Marcus stood up. Vivien, the lawyer said, please sit down. Marcus left. Then he sat down, silent. The lawyer offered a choice, settlement or going to court. I chose court. The lawyer said it will be more expensive, longer, more painful. I know, I said. Marcus asked, do you really want to go to court? Yes, I said, because nothing can be hidden in front of the judge. All the messages, all the dates, all the lies. The judge will ask this person what they think, and I will tell them. Marcus's face hardened. I can't do this, he said, but I was going to. When I left the office, I went out into the street and walked. I wasn't going anywhere. I just wanted to move. I wanted my legs to carry me. The people of the city were challenging me, but I didn't see them. There were songs, but I didn't hear them. There was only me making choices. And choice was every breaking point, but it also provided clarity. My phone rang. Marcus's mother. Vivien, we heard what you did, she said, a mixture of anger and disbelief in her voice. Marcus tried to explain, but I replied, I don't need an explanation. There are dates. There are messages. There's a ring. Marcus's mother was silent. Then, slowly, she said, I'm so sorry to hear that. I asked if she was trying to get him to apologize. No, she said, I'm just going home. I hung up. When I got home, Marcus's bags were standing by the door. 3 suitcases. A structure, like a symbol of a life hastily packed away. The key had been left in the door, with a note. I don't feel right being in your house. I've found a hotel. We'll continue talking through a lawyer. I read the note. Then I threw it in the trash. I left Marcus's suitcases by the door. He wanted to go on his own defeat. He could have pulled them with me. That night, I called and emailed work. I want to inform you that I'm taking 4 weeks off for personal reasons. I don't want to share the details. There was no reply, but there were people who knew. I know that because I know that news spreads in that workplace. Then, the second night, Valerie found me on social media and messaged me, do you love Marcus? I replied, think about it a little more. Then you'll get your answer. Valerie started typing and stopped 3 times. Then she gave up. I deleted the message. On the 3rd night, Marcus's mother called again. Vivien, please let's bring this to the table. We can talk about it. I said I couldn't because is there anything to talk about at the table? Is it a lie? Will she give a better explanation? What will Marcus understand? No, I said, the time for understanding has passed. Within a week, the court case was open. The lawyer is on my side. Mistakes were made, deception, unexplained expenses, concealed relationships. The legal ledger records all of this. Marcus's lawyer defended him. There were mistakes, human errors, difficulties. The judge listened. In his silent voice, I saw something in his eyes, understanding he'd seen other cases, other men, other Viviens. Madam, he said, financially, we will divide fairly. 60% of the house will go to you. Investment accounts will be split. Other expenses will be shared equally. The divorce will be finalized after a 6-month waiting period. 6 months. 6 months without infecting each other. Long enough, short enough. Marcus was sitting at the table. His face was gray. Not just his face, perhaps his whole life was gray. When I walked out of the courtroom, the morning sun was shining. I felt heavy, but free. My lawyer took my hand. You did well, he said. I thanked him. But was I? Had I brought a lying man to court? Or had I chosen myself? 2 weeks had passed. Marcus's mother never called again. Valerie quit her job. At work, people stopped talking. There were 100,000 people in the city, and none of them knew me. But some had heard my story through the company, through social media, through word of mouth. My stories. I started emptying my house. I took out Marcus's photos, paintings, figurines, mementos. The wall was bare. A little sadness, but mostly emptiness, space for something new. I'm back to work. Clients, designs, color corrections. Is a black line in the wrong place in a photo? Okay, do better. That's it, I know. That's it, I can check it. 4 weeks later, an old co-worker approached me in the office. Claire, we heard what Vivien did to Marcus, she said. There was fear, concern, curiosity in her voice. I didn't do anything, I said. I just brought it to light. Claire said, think about it. Valerie might still have her house. She's clinging on. I know, I said, but she's clinging on not because of me. She's clinging on because Marcus isn't good enough as a person. Being a man isn't enough. Being ambitious isn't enough. In the 5th week, the divorce draft was signed. Papers, numbers, official closing. The 6-month waiting period began. 6 months of not seeing Marcus. 6 months of written communication only with Marcus's lawyer. 6 months to begin. In the 6th week, I found a new apartment. 1 bedroom, a balcony. Son, it cost half as much as Marcus's and my apartment. But I owned it as a person, not our memories. It was just itself. When I moved in, I took 3 things: a blue duvet, a table lamp, a picture frame, but it didn't have a picture in it. It was just empty. I left everything else there until the house was sold and I got the money. In the 8th week, Marcus's mother sent an email, a farewell letter. Vivien, I don't know how this should be, but I wish you well. Marcus refuses to see his mistakes, so I assume he won't see you. I didn't reply. I did. Thank you for comforting me, but I need to stand on my own 2 feet. I received no reply. In the 9th week, one of my old friends called David Vivien. We heard a story about Marcus's luck pulling. He said, "Is it true?" "It's not the issue," I said. "It's just a matter of choice." David said, "You did well, a little aggressive, but good." I replied, "I defended myself. That's all there is to it." 10 weeks had passed. 4 months. 2 months remaining. Then it would be over. The court would sign it. The lawyer, me, no court, no witnesses, just paper and signature. Marcus would sign it and I would sign it. Done. I sat down at home and looked out the window. The sun was setting. The colors were orange, red, purple. A beautiful day. But I didn't think about it. I just watched it. There was no sadness, no regret, just a transparent space, and within it, me, just me, myself, for the first time in a very long time. I'm putting my name forward. My name is Vivien, and I am free. As the weight of experiences increases, a person begins to recognize their own strength more closely. Situations that initially make one feel weak eventually reveal resilience. Each new day is perceived not as a continuation of the previous one, but as a new beginning. The burden of the past doesn't lighten, but it becomes bearable. This allows a person to rebuild their self-respect. Decisions are no longer shaped by the expectations of others, but by one's own limitations. This change is silent but effective, even if it's not noticeable from the outside. There is a great internal reorganization. A person learns to let go of things they cannot control and clings more tightly to those they can. This distinction makes life more understandable. The feeling of being lost gives way to a sense of direction. Every step isn't perfect, but it is conscious. This consciousness makes the future more secure, and a person realizes that their experiences haven't consumed them, but rather transformed them. When I woke up on the last day of 6 months, I saw the red line on the calendar. Today, the divorce would be official. The lawyer emailed me, "Come to the courthouse at 10 o'clock a.m. The judge will sign it." 45 minutes. Done. Simple enough. Final enough. I took a shower. I combed my hair. I put on a minimalist dress, black, simple, needing no explanation. The kind of dress people wear when they don't want to answer when asked why they left. I stood in front of the mirror. My face was familiar yet different. There was less protection around my eyes, more strength in the structure of my face. I arrived in front of the lawyer's office. 8 floors. 3rd floor. The court. I went in. Marcus was standing there. I hadn't seen him for a very long time, 8 weeks. Through writing, through lawyers, but not face to face. His face had thinned. His eyes were more sunken, as if he hadn't slept. As if he hadn't slept at all, actually. He was looking at me. He seemed like he didn't want to see me, but his eyes wouldn't leave me alone. "Hello," I said. I didn't say anything else. The lawyer came out. He said the judge was ready. We went in together. The judge said, "Madam, sir, I have reviewed your divorce file. The 6-month waiting period is complete. The financial settlement has been signed. No child support disputes. A clean file. We can proceed." Marcus and I nodded. The judge pushed the papers on the table. "Signatures, please," he said. Marcus signed first. His hand seemed to tremble. The pen slid across the table. The lawyer caught it and handed it back. Marcus signed more carefully. Name, date. Then he looked at me. It was my turn. I picked up the pen. I looked at the paper. Name, date, signature, unanswered, clear, definitive. The judge approved the signatures. "Your divorce is officially complete," he said. "Good luck to both of you." His voice was dry, formal, devoid of any emotional tone. Just a process, just a milestone. When we left the room, Marcus tried to speak. "Vivien, wait," I said. I stopped. For the first time, I felt like I'd shown a little interest. He said, "That this is real?" "Finally, yes." I said, "Finally." I didn't say anything more. I got into the elevator. Marcus stayed behind. I went outside. The air was cold but fresh. The sun was shining. The city was going about its normal life, people going to work, getting coffee, checking their phones. Nobody knew I was divorced. Nobody cared. It was strangely liberating. Nothing in the world had changed. Only I had. I went to the office. I wanted to continue with work, normality. Claire saw me and sweetly asked, "Today?" "Yes, today," I said. She hugged me. The other people turned their heads away. I heard the conversation. I knew it. But this time it felt different. History isn't an interpretation. It's just the truth. In the afternoon, I returned home. My new apartment, a bed, a sofa, a table, empty walls. This place doesn't hold any memories of Marcus. Good. I opened my laptop. Work emails. A new client. A logo design. The concept. Colors, important things, good things. That night, my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered. It was Marcus's lawyer. "My clients want to collect some personal belongings. Tomorrow at p.m. at the old apartment?" I said, "Okay, but you need to come," I said. Marcus's lawyer said he wouldn't be coming. Unexpected. He felt uneasy. I understood. Marcus was embarrassed. The next day at p.m., the phone rang. Marcus's lawyer and another man, the movers, were standing at the apartment door. I answered. The lawyer showed me a list of belongings. Some books, personal electronics, clothes. Nothing was valuable. Nothing was sentimental. Marcus had simply separated himself by the question of where he was. It was over in an hour. The movers carried the suitcases downstairs. The lawyer asked for a signature, a form confirming the departure. I gave it to him. "Good luck," said the lawyer. "Good luck to the minimalist, but it's sufficient." The apartment felt so much noisier. Marcus's tablet charger was empty. His bookshelf was missing, but I was still there, here, old, without memories. A week later, the business client called me. "The design is good," he said. "It's very bright, very clear." He wanted more designs. The money increased. The business grew. Some nights when I worked in the office, I wouldn't stop until I finished the design because working felt better than thinking about other things. 2 weeks later, he made an appointment with Claire for coffee. We sat in his place. "How are you?" she asked. "Really?" I felt good, I said. "A little strange, but good." Claire smiled. "Most people in your position still feel melancholic," she said. "Maybe," I said, "but to feel melancholic, I still have to love someone. And I've long since stopped loving her." Marcus's statement on social media. A new beginning. Valerie and I are no longer together. Personal growth. A change of perspective on life. Thank you for the well wishes. 505 likes. 500 people pressed the like button on a man's life of lies. I didn't explain. I didn't say anything. I just read it, closed it, and blocked them. It's in the past. It needs to end. I occupied myself with making art. 4 weeks later, an old friend invited me to an event, an art exhibition, works by emerging designers. I went. I didn't feel out of place. I just looked. The colors, the shapes, how they transformed human emotions into paintings. What were my colors? Light or dark? Warm or cold? I didn't know. But in my designs, I had always chosen light. 5 weeks later, the lawyer called. The court papers have been signed. It's officially over. The house is being sold. The real estate agent is negotiating. Your share will be in your account within 6 months. Accounts, money, numbers. Life boils down to this calculation, but only in terms of money. But for me, it wasn't about the money. The money was gone. 6 weeks later, my mother called. "Vivien, I saw Marcus at the market. He looked terrible." I asked. "He's lost weight. He's sad." There were tears in his eyes. I listened, but I didn't feel. I knew there would be no compassion. Compassion ended with marriage. "Good," I said. My mother was surprised. I didn't say it, but I did. Marcus had chosen to live his own life. Now he sits in that life. His thoughts are his problem, not mine. 7 weeks later, the house was sold. The real estate agent said it was done. Closing within a week. With the money, the house was mine, technically, but I didn't go back. I didn't want to see it. Too many memories. 8 weeks later, I found a new client. A startup, young, energetic, and eager for growth. I designed a logo for them. The color, blue. The shape, an opening door. The meaning, a new beginning. The client loved it. This is exactly my vision, they said. A smile spread through me. The design isn't just design. This is our design. My colors, my door. 9 weeks later, I offered Claire a new business deal, a partnership. The two of us. The client base would grow. We'd open a new apartment, a design studio, under her own name, a signature of both of us. Claire cried. Vivien, seriously? She said. Seriously? I said. I've built my life. Now I'll build the business. A dream for both of us. One. Claire hugged me. For the first time, when someone hugged me, I wanted to be hugged. 10 weeks later, we opened the studio. Small but bright windows, colorful walls, 2 desks, computers. So, opening day. Nothing, just Claire, me, and the clients. Marcus's family wasn't invited. Old friends weren't invited. Just people I chose. Just life I chose. 11 weeks later, the money from the sale of my old house arrived in my account. A large sum, but not just a number, it's a symbol. This money is a new beginning. This money is freedom. Some for investments, some for travel, some for design courses. Mine that I've never shared with anyone. 12 weeks later, I went on a trip far from the city. Sea, beach, sun. I didn't know anyone. No one recognized me. Anonymity, comfort. We sat by the ocean and I watched the sunset. No pain, no sadness, just transparency. Water, wind, light. I returned to the city. I started working in the studio. Designs, clients, successes. Life just moves forward. I didn't look back. There are no mirrors, only the road. 3 months later, Marcus says she heard his story. A new job, a lower position. Valerie hadn't followed him. She understood. Families weren't the script. Just ambition. Just a mask. When the mask came off, there was no one left. I listened and moved on. I didn't say it. I just knew. Did she know that? 6 months later, we had achieved our business goals. More clients, more designs, more success. Claire and I sat in our office looking at the map of the path we had taken. We accomplished all of this without Marcus, Claire said. That's true, I said. But the reason we succeeded even without Marcus is Marcus. Because he taught me who is who has value. 9 months later, my design was entered into an international competition. It won. My design is on the world stage. My name is officially written there. Vivien, just Vivien. Not married, not an assistant, just me. A year later, a year after the divorce, I opened the calendar and looked at the timeline. The day I met Marcus face to face, the restaurant, Valerie's ring, the courtroom, the signature, all of it as if it already happened. Past tense, past life, different person. But I've changed. I'm no longer a designer. I'm a contractor. Action, not emotion. Choice, not fear. I saw Marcus text me. In a line, no words, just a period. He deleted it. I didn't open it. I didn't reply because there's nothing to reply to. The conversation is over. The story is over. The pages have been turned. Finally, when I looked at myself in the mirror, I saw something clear. Power, it's not something that doesn't exist. It's within you. And this power didn't come from Marcus. This power I chose. Every day, with every decision, every plan. This power is choosing. And choosing is the freest thing. Divorce isn't just paperwork. Divorce is rebirth. Divorce is a beginning. And I finally have begun. This story, what remains is not just what happened, but the lessons learned from it. Sometimes people realize too late that life moves them forward not by hurting them, but by awakening them. Every disappointment actually opens the door to a more solid awareness, because true strength lies not in never being hurt, but in remaining standing despite being wounded. This process teaches a person that they should measure their own worth not by the truths of others, but by their own limitations. When trust is shaken, a person thinks they are destroyed, but often they have already begun to rebuild. Nothing is as pure as it once was, but it is much more real. What's important here is not dwelling on the past, but understanding how it shaped who we are today. What happened cannot be changed, but the perspective on it can. When a person sees what happened as an awakening rather than a punishment, the burden within them lightens. Events reveal resilience, not weakness. Because every difficult experience is an opportunity for a person to recognize their own strength. This awareness takes a person out of the victim role and into a position where they take responsibility for their own life. Sometimes things that seem lost are actually built on false foundations. What collapses is not just an established order, but also an illusion that limits humanity. What takes its place is a more conscious, more solid, and more authentic understanding of life. A person gains inner freedom when they realize they don't have to bear the consequences of others' decisions. This freedom doesn't erase the past, but it makes the future clearer. Every step is now taken with awareness, not fear. And this awareness strengthens self-respect. Life sometimes shows us that the things we trust aren't as solid as we thought. This is a painful confrontation, but also a process of growth, because true confidence begins not with external factors, but with the balance one establishes within oneself. The mistakes of others don't determine one's own worth. A person becomes strong when they set their own boundaries and take their own needs seriously. This strength emerges not through shouting, but through quiet determination. And over time, this determination is reflected in one's demeanor. This story is not just about loss, but about transformation. The awareness born from broken trust teaches one to be more careful, more selective, and stronger. Every decision is now made with the wisdom of the present, not the fears of the past. One learns to move forward without denying or surrendering to what has been experienced. This balance is the hallmark of true maturity, because being strong doesn't mean being emotionless. It means being able to stand tall despite your emotions. From this point on, life may not seem as innocent as before, but it is far more meaningful. People no longer just live, they become aware of their existence. Each day becomes a more conscious choice. They know more clearly who to include in their lives and what to include. Protecting boundaries is not guilt, but self-respect. And this self-respect becomes a person's greatest shield. No one has to disregard their own worth. Ultimately, the point is this: experiences don't diminish a person, but rather strengthen them. It's enough if a person chooses to learn from their pain instead of getting lost in it. Every difficulty, when viewed correctly, is a teacher. Every setback, when approached right, becomes a new foundation. And every disappointment brings a person a little closer to themselves. This path is not easy, but it is real. And everything that is real makes a person stronger. Although this story seems to end here, it actually represents a new beginning. Because when a person makes sense of their experiences, they can continue on their path more firmly. The past is no longer a burden, but a guide. What happened is unforgettable, but it doesn't define a person. The real definition is how a person gets back on their feet after those experiences. And sometimes the greatest victory is being able to move on quietly.